My announcement for tonight is actually around the challenge. That's a perfect segue, Julie, which is that just a reminder to anybody who is you guys, who is a part of the Fitme family, who is a client in our full year program. The challenge is a benefit to you. It is complimentary. So if you would like to join our challenge, you can join at any time. Just talk to your coach. They'll link up with me. We'll get you set up. However, here's my thing. I want you to actually commit to doing it. I don't want it to just be something you're just adding into your world and like, I'll just watch and look and learn. That's fine, but that's not actually helping you. So if you want to do it, then commit to doing it. The way that we set up the challenge, we originally did it, because I want to give you guys details for a second, because you're going to see us talking about it everywhere. When we did our first launch of it, we decided it was going to be 10 weeks, and now we're shortening it to 6, because for people who are getting started with Fitme, which is really what the challenge is for, people who are brand new, who are like, I don't know what this is, like, can this help me? This is a great way for them to get started and try something. We decided to make it a little bit more digestible into that 6-week, time frame. But here's the thing, like the goals are basically the same: 100 plates, 42 workout or movement sessions, and 6 weeks of meal prep. Before it was 50 workouts in 10 weeks. So it's basically the same. So here's the thing. If you commit to doing the challenge, we want you to hit 100 Fitme plates. I want you to think to yourself, okay, well, what does 6 weeks of meal prep look like? How am I going to commit to doing that for myself and showing up differently than I am right now? Or I'm not moving as much as I want. So I want to commit to doing those 50 movement sessions. I want you to commit to those and then utilize your coach and obviously the challenge resources to help you do it. So just to reiterate, one, what is the Fitme Challenge? The Fitme Challenge is a great way for people to get started with Fitme who don't know anything about this. This is like the step one. Let's do plates, let's do movement, let's do some group coaching calls together and see if this is what you're looking for. So if you know somebody, you're going to see lots of posts about it over the next couple of weeks, tag them. But for you, this is a resource that is complimentary for you as a part of our Fitme family, as a client. You can use this. Julie's a perfect example. Julie is obviously one of our clients. She's here right now, but she is using the challenge. She's posting plates. She is like doing the thing. She is tracking her progress and using it to create momentum. So we want you to use it that way for yourself. And so talk to your coach. Like, don't just be like, yeah, I should do it. You should do a lot of things. We should all do a lot of things, but do we want to commit to doing it? That's what I want to ask yourself. And if the answer is yes, then we'll get you set up and plugged in. Completely complimentary. Remember, that's for you as an added benefit, with the caveat that you are committed to doing it. P.S. side note, for if you're like, would somebody want to do this, a new person, they can win a free month of coaching. So if you're like somebody who maybe should put their toe in the water, who might sign up for the challenge and do it, they get a free month of coaching if they finish it. And they don't even have to finish it inside the 6 weeks. I basically make a deal with them that as long as they don't quit, I will still honor that free month of coaching. So this is like a perfect thing for somebody who's ready to make that shift and kind of feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to do something different. So anyways, I wanted you guys to be in the loop of what is happening with that, and then let you know that you can jump in and plug in at any point that you want to. And to congratulate Julie on her incredible challenge Fitme plate posts, because they are just killer. I think that's it. A bunch of you guys we're going to see in person in 2 weeks at the Fitme event. I cannot wait. I can hardly contain myself. And so more to come on that. But let's dive right into the topic, which couldn't be more of a coincidence. So when we sit down as a team, so Coach Molly and I and Brooke and the other Fitme coaches, we sit down and we look at like, what are we going to talk about on these Sunday calls? We planned that out a couple weeks ago, like a couple months ago. We have this entire schedule of what we're going to talk about on our Sunday calls. I could never have guessed that today's Sunday call would be on what you should do if you get sick, how you should eat or return to exercise. But it couldn't be more timely because I literally was knocked on my butt last week with a sickness. We did our Sunday call and I saw you guys. I was in the airport, and probably 30 minutes after that, I got a full-blown crazy fever. My throat started swelling. And then by the next morning, I was in the ER with a sore throat that went haywire and got to spend the night in the hospital. It was just a sore throat infection, and I got all the antibiotics and steroids, and I'm doing much better today. But it couldn't be more timely that this is the Sunday topic. We literally did not plan it this way. It just worked out this way. So I get to tell you guys a little bit about, and guess what? I know inside of our Fitme family, we actually have a lot of people who are not feeling good, like with sickness lately. It seems to be going around quite a bit. I mean, back to school season, even if you don't have kids who are in back to school, it tends to be a time when there's lots of germs because everybody's mixing up. They were all different places and now they're together and they're mixing up. So what do you do when you get sick? Like, should you eat? Like, should you make yourself eat? Like, what if you have a target and your coach is like, hey, I want you to eat protein at every meal. That's what you're supposed to do. Are you supposed to do that when you're sick?
No, because we just had COVID. My husband had COVID, and then I got another mild case of it. And we just had it in March. So, and he got it for the first time, but he had a fever of 105. I thought it was, anyway, that's another story. But I got it mildly. Our daughter got it again mildly. And we're like, really? We had soup. Who cares about
100%. I think that's I think you said that way better than I could, Julie. Who cares about your protein target when you've got 105 fever or you're throwing up or you're sick? At the end of the day, you can't get back to your life until you get better. And so how do you, a lot of times when you're sick, you will actually not have an appetite. Have you ever noticed that? Like the appetite goes away. Your body actually has to spend a lot of energy digesting food. It's one of the things that our body uses energy most for in a given day. So sometimes when your body is sick, it turns off that hunger signal. And so you don't want to force feed. Also, sometimes when your gut is upset, like you have an upset stomach, whether you are throwing up, you've got diarrhea or whatever, obviously like your brain should be telling you, don't put anything in my stomach. Like you got to trust your body, like listen to your body and say, I'm not putting anything in my stomach. There's no like nutrition targets when you're sick other than just to listen to your body. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, don't force feed. Also, you are going to need to eat food at some point. So pick something that doesn't upset your stomach. Pick something that, like you said, Julie, soup, something that is easy to digest. Sometimes liquid nutrition can be a lot easier to digest for your body than like a big old salad, right? So the funny thing is that a lot of the foods that we want to have in our normal healthy diet, like a big old salad, that our body has to work pretty hard to digest that. There's a lot of good stuff in there, including fiber. Go ahead and throw that in your stomach when you're sick. You're going to know that it's not working for you. So in terms of the food, my general rule of thumb is you don't force feed, you listen to your body, and you eat when you're ready to eat because your body is telling you you probably don't need to eat too much. And liquid nutrition can be helpful when you're sick because it's easier to digest. And if you don't normally eat sandwiches, eat a friggin' sandwich if that's what sounds good when you're super sick. It's okay. You just want to get back to feeling like yourself as soon as possible. You know what I mean? And if you haven't eaten a meal in 3 days and lasagna is the only thing that sounds good, eat lasagna. Who cares? Like it's okay to go ahead and say, all I'm trying to do is get better right now. And this is what I'm going to eat. Now, in terms of energy levels and things, like you're going to need to listen to your body. And so when you return to activity, your appetite should return, right? And so pay attention to that. If for some reason it doesn't, check with your doctor. Be like, I haven't been hungry since I've been sick. Something seems off. You should be able to return to your normal hunger signals after you're feeling better, when you're back to your activity level. So for example, for me, today is the first day that I'm even remotely close to my normal activity level. Like we walked around, we took the kids to the fair, and I did a really small workout. So I'm like in the ballpark of my normal activity level after 7 days, and my hunger signal is back. I'm feeling more hungry. Now, food and liquid are different. And so sometimes you gotta drink when you don't feel like it, when you're sick. again, don't force feed yourself, check with your doctor, all that good stuff. This is not medical advice. I'm just telling you those two things are different categories. And you know that you've probably been told that by your mom, your grandma, your doctor, whatever. You've got to be hydrated, especially if it's, coming out of you. And so whatever works for you to be hydrated. I'll be honest, when I had the stomach flu like a month or two ago, you know what worked for me? Ginger ale. Ginger ale worked for me. And soda is on my like super boundary list because I used to be like a soda monster. I loved some soda and I would drink soda all the friggin' time. And so soda is on one of my like really hardcore boundaries. But you know what? When I had the stomach flu, I needed to get in some liquid. And ginger ale was what seemed like it would work for me. So for a couple days, I had ginger ale. And then guess what? Ginger ale started tasting pretty delicious. And once I felt better, I was like, man, I could have a ginger ale every day and it would be just fine. And I kicked that ginger ale out of my house because I don't want to have a ginger ale every day. But when I was sick, it was fine. So with that being said, I just wanted to put those two things in different categories. Sometimes you really do need to like drink, even if you don't feel like it. But the food stuff, really listen to your body. And then returning to, should you exercise? I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this question. Should you exercise when you're sick? Again, not medical advice, ask your doctor, but here's my like advice based off of experience. If you have a mild head cold, sometimes you can get away with exercise. It doesn't make you worse. It's fine. Sometimes it make you even feel better to sweat a little bit. And so I'm talking about mild head cold. If you have something below the neck, lungs, stomach, exercise is definitely not going to help you. It's not going to help. It's going to make it worse. And if you are teeter-tottering on the edge of getting sick and not getting sick, and you're super stressed, exercise is also not going to help you because that's going to tip you right over the edge of like, my body's too stressed and now I'm sick. I can't tell you how many times that has happened to me and people that I know that they were like, I was right there and I did that workout and then now I'm sick because they were just right there on the edge. And so there's no exact answer, but again, like just my like personal trainer rule of thumb is if it's mild and above the neck, you might be able to get away with exercise. Anything below the neck, just wait till you feel better. There's nothing wrong with taking some time off and doing some walks or something, but it's not going to help you. It's not going to improve your fitness level, right? Like, let's think about like, what's the point? What's the point? The point is that you want to improve your fitness level or do something, but you've got to get better. You're not training for the Olympics, right? Like there's no reason why you would want to hurt your body in the process of just needing to get better. And so that's my general rule of thumb. And again, like if you're teeter-tottering on the edge of too stressed and you're going to get sick, then a workout can tip you over sometimes, especially if it's like a CrossFit style, high intensity, stressful workout, that can be a negative. And so returning to exercise should start the same in a lot of seasons. Returning to exercise should typically start with walking, because you can evaluate how you feel with almost no consequences. Like you can walk and be like, well, that made me out of breath, or I was super tired, or that felt great, or whatever. And you can kind of evaluate, all right, well, I could do a quarter of a mile. I could do a half a mile. I feel better. I did a mile. It was no problem. Walking is the thing. Like whether you've been sick, whether you've had surgery, whether you've had a baby, whether you've had a whatever, return to exercise almost always starts with walking. And so if you're not sure, then go for a walk, see how you feel. I walked for 3 days today before I went, or 3 days this week before I went back to the gym, just to see. And I love to walk, and walking a half a mile was hard on day one. So I was like, well, that's good for me. That's a wrap. Half a mile was good. And then the next day I was like, okay, that half a mile was easy peasy. I could talk on the phone. It was much more doable. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. And then today we walked around all day and I still felt like I had some energy for a workout. So I really just listened to my body. And you've heard me say that like 4 or 5 times on this call. Give yourself permission to listen to your body in all times, in all seasons, but especially when you're sick. And especially when you're recovering from sickness, surgery, whatever. a big event, listen to your body. And if you're like, I don't know how to listen to my body, good question. Here's how you listen to your body. One, you got to practice. If you never, ever listen to your body, it takes some practice, to be honest. I think that it's one of those things that we just say and we're like, do, listen to your body. But actually, what does that even mean? What it means is like, for example, what does my breathing feel like? Am I able to catch my breath? Am I able to talk? Do I have lots of energy? Like, do I feel energized? Like I want to go harder? What do I feel like in my chest and breathing? That's one of the first places you can listen to your body in any circumstance, even in like a stressful work situation. What's your breathing feel like? Can you take a deep breath? Can you bring yourself back down? Are you going spiraling out? Like what do you feel like in your chest and torso? And listen to that and think, okay, I'm out of control, or I'm not out of control, or I feel really tired, or I feel like I can't catch my breath, or what is it? The other place I listen to my body is obviously in my head. I want to feel how I feel in my head space. That can be physically, like, do I feel dizzy? Do I feel lightheaded? Do I feel like I can't focus? Those are cues that are telling me something that I need to pay attention to, especially when it's like return to exercise. If I feel lightheaded or I can't focus, it's getting too hard. I need to listen to my body and make sure that I'm feeling that. And then honestly, our minds and everything are connected to our gut. And so listening to your body also involves your gut. And sometimes like paying attention to like, are you getting upset stomach from something? Are you feeling like you're going to be sick or nauseous? Like what's happening there? Pay attention to that. And so I know this sounds like really obvious, but I want to point out the things that we should look for when we're listening to our body around returning to exercise and food after being sick. There's a whole nother category of listening to your body that we would like to put under the category of like biofeedback, which are sort of our normal signals that we should be paying attention to. Coach Molly's actually going to be teaching on this at the Fitme event, is like, how do we listen to our body and get those normal, like what are those signals that we should be looking for and what do they mean? But these are just some of the ones for returning to exercise or food post sickness. And then last but not least is your muscles. So today I did, and I'm using myself again, it couldn't be more perfect that this was my week this week. I did a very light workout today, like light in terms of weights. It was a normal amount of time and normal amount of exercises, but I did lighter than I normally do for two reasons. One, I haven't done it for a week or so. And so safely returning to doing it needs to be lighter. But two, coming out of being sick, my body might need more time to recover. I might wake up tomorrow sore from my light weights, and I might need an extra day of sleep to get back to ready to do another workout. And so just paying attention to your recovery when you're returning to workouts is another really important piece of it. So I think I covered everything. Molly, did I miss anything? I wanted to cover everything in the category of eating and returning to exercise during your sickness and after your sickness. You're muted. And when in doubt, your doctor's vote is the way to go. So whatever they tell you is the way to go. But that listen to your body thing, they're going to tell you that a lot. Listen to your body, see how you feel. If you feel like, doing it, you might be okay. So does anybody have any questions or thoughts around this, around sickness, around exercise, around returning? I guess one other thing to say is that like what happens to the scale when you're sick? I don't know. There's some lucky people who just lose a bunch of weight when they're sick. Yay for those people. Not that I ever wanted to be sick and lose a bunch of weight, but it was always something that I was like, yay, I'm going to get sick and lose a bunch of weight. That's never in my life happened to me. Oftentimes my body goes the other direction. I tend to retain a lot of water and inflammation when I'm sick and put on weight. The scale means zip, zero, nothing when you're sick. Again, don't worry about it. You just got to get better and get back to business. So if you can get on it and be like, curious, my body did this, fine, but don't read anything into it in regards to your goals and progress. Now, chronic sickness, different situation, especially if you are on something that a medication that might impact the scale, like that's a different thing. I'm talking about a short-term sickness, like a cold, a stomach flu, that kind of sickness is what I'm talking about, not a chronic long-term thing. But especially if you're put on antibiotics or steroids, like I was, you're going to put on pounds, period. That's just how it goes almost always. At least for a couple of days. And so don't be surprised about that. Sometimes they're like, people are like, oh, I got sick and I went back in the wrong direction. No, your body's just retaining water and you had steroids. And so you're going to be up a couple pounds. So what are your thoughts, questions, ideas around this topic?
I have one thought, Christy.
Yeah.
I do know that I am chronic. I am famous for pushing through a sickness to work out. Like, if the only thing in Fitme that I do almost seamlessly is the workout piece. Mm-hmm. The food piece is a struggle. Food prep is a struggle. It's things that I have grown to get better at. But working out is just the thing. It's like, it doesn't take much thought because somebody's doing the program. And so that's the one thing I know I can get done. And I have pushed through feeling sick. And I swear, every time I've done it, it made me feel so much worse 3 days, every day after that for like a week. Then, so I went and worked out, all proud of myself because I worked out through the sickness. And then I was bedridden for 2-3 days. Couldn't work out, couldn't eat right. And clearly I'm a slow learner because I've done it many times. I mean, only now am I like, okay, we're not going to do these things because we know right now we can't. But it took getting sick and making myself sicker after a workout for it to ever, maybe it might have even taken Molly being like, what the hell are you doing? But I probably didn't do it on my own, actually, now that I think about it. But that's the thing. When I'm sick and I work out and I push myself too hard, it stops me from working out for many days after. And then that just tears me up.
Yeah, you're not the only one. I'm sure like most of us have made that error before and maybe even more than once. And so you're not the only one. But the thing is about exercise is that exercise is only part of the equation. Sometimes we think it's just, oh, let me do the exercise. I want to push through. But there's another piece of that equation, which is recovery. And so our body has to recover from the stress of exercise. And we do that with sleep, with our nutrition, with all of our body's systems recovering from the stress of exercise. And so what can happen is if our body's systems and attention are focused on like our immune system is like on blast, trying to deal with a sickness, our sleep is disrupted, whatever, then a workout tends to make it worse. And so not always, but again, like you've seen that that's the case for you. So what I would recommend doing is if you feel well enough to show up to the gym, but you know that if you do the workout, then you're going to feel worse. Then what I would recommend doing is keeping the time block in your life, because that's the piece that you're attached to. You're like, I'm not giving this up. Like, this is my workout time and I'm good at this. I'm keeping this. Keep the time block, but do something else. Go for a walk in that exact time block when you would have been at the gym doing CrossFit. Instead, have a buddy go walk with you. Or if you show up to the gym, just be like, I'm here, I'm getting a band, I'm going to go sit in the corner. I'm just not feeling the best. Like, use that time on mobility, use that time for stretching, like something like that, that doesn't require a lot of recovery, because both of those examples that I gave you don't require recovery. So if you feel well enough to do them, then do them, because then you're not going to be putting your body in that position, but then you can keep that time block and you're not going to feel like you're compromising it.
Love that.
I did that for months in the late pregnancy with Georgia. Like in my last 4 to 6 weeks of pregnancy, I was not doing anything at CrossFit, but I would just show up because I didn't want to like lose the habit of it. I had worked so hard to create that routine and I didn't want to lose it. So I would just like show up and be like, hey, everybody. And then I would just like leave and go for a walk and then come back at the end of class, like, high five people like I had done what they did. What else, guys? Anything else? Hopefully this was helpful. I just know there's a handful of people. I mean, I can think of like 4 or 5 right now that have got some kind of sickness or something going on. And so hopefully this was helpful. If it's not, then if it's not relevant this moment, it should be relevant in the future. You'll have at least something to use in the future when this comes up. And sleep. Sleep's the number one thing you can do to get better faster. Like, how do I get better faster? Sleep. That's how you get better faster. So sweet, guys. Well, it's great seeing you. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I know most people are off tomorrow, so enjoy the holiday. And if you need anything, just reach out. Again, I can't wait to see many of you in person in just like 2 weeks. And we'll talk soon. So live call next week, but then the following week with Fitme Weekend will be recorded. So I'll see you guys live next week. Bye.